Okay, here we go. This year hurt a little bit with regards to movies. There were several disappointments throughout the year, I felt, with regards to movie-going experiences, but also I didn't really go to that many movies that I knew going in were going to be kind of duds. I want to kind of save a little money this year, so I went out my way to actually find some movies on, say, Netflix or on torrents and so forth that just at a glance had an idea like, these might be bad, but I'm also the type who's very much into the so bad it could be good category that I want to give some lesser fare a shot. Before we get into what ultimately became the most rage-inducing experiences for me for the year, let me just list a couple of dishonorable mentions, I should say. These are movies that, honestly, they just went in one ear and out the other for me. I have kind of lost track of a little bit more of them as time has gone on, or I really didn't mind them so much, but I can acknowledge that they're pretty terrible movies. So here they are. And now we get into, I can't really call it the creme de la creme. The shit de la turd of 2016. The Veil. I already have gone into this movie quite in depth in another video log, which again I'll put links to other video logs down below, but also a very in-depth McChats with Dan Bauer. Yeah, it's an interesting premise, and at least there's one actor in it who looks like he's having a good enough time in his role. But other than that, I feel like the movie's focus is in the wrong place, and a lot of the cast just looks like they'd rather be at lunch. Again, it's not like god-awful compared to some of the other movies that are going to be on this list later, but yeah, it's not good. I can at least get a chuckle out of it here and there. Gods of Egypt. So much ambition, so much creative visuals, so much misguided attempts at trying to tell a weird fantasy epic. I would say I'd recommend this on a bad movie night of some kind if you want to just get drunk with friends and watch something just completely farcical in that sense. Yeah, it is a little bit offensive that you couldn't get at least maybe one or two actual Egyptian actors to be in a movie about the gods of Egypt. Hiring Scottish Gerard Butler as your villain and Jaime Lannister as your protagonist. Whitewashing what now, Hollywood? But I gotta admit, director Alex Proyas has some ambition behind him at least. I have enjoyed his other films such as The Crow and Dark City, and I wanted to give this movie a shot and at least see if I could get some kind of enjoyment out of it. And I do a little bit. It's not really a movie I'd want to revisit anytime soon, but I do remember at least having a good laugh out loud time at it. At its expense, mostly. Warcraft. I'll give it to this movie. The first 5 minutes are a pretty decent fan film. The first 5 minutes, I remember actually kind of caring a little bit about what was going on with the orc characters. When you kind of set up their little origin, and I want to give Toby Kebbell the benefit of the doubt. I think the dude's a solid actor, he just needs to be in better movies. But his character, as I don't remember lead orc's name, but that character I've kind of enjoyed, I guess. Like I said at the beginning of it, when they travel to the other world, to Azeroth, that was an actual interesting part of the movie, and then it just kind of all falls to the wayside in favor of almost Seventh Son levels of stock fantasy characters and stock fantasy plots. Now again, this is just coming from someone who's never played a Warcraft game in his life, so if you're a die-hard fan of the Warcraft series, I'm sure there's lots of little Easter eggs or lots of little references or plot details that you will probably gravitate towards. To you, this is probably your Lord of the Rings. I'm never going to take that away from you. No one ever can. No one can ever undermine your enjoyment of a movie. This movie, though, just didn't speak to me in any way, and I just couldn't get into the fantasy, even though it was meant to be maybe a little bit more corny, cheeseball type fantasy action. Still wasn't working for me. Sorry, Warcraft. Zoolander 2. Being a fan of the original Zoolander, this was a huge disappointment for me. Zoolander and Hansel, what little character development they were able to kind of hang on to in between movies, fell flat. It felt really mean-spirited at times. The only running joke that ever worked in this movie for me was Kiefer Sutherland acting heartbroken because Hansel broke up with his orgy. That's all I can really remember is that. The characters that you grew to kind of appreciate in the first movie are the lowest common denominator type of stock hero or villain characters. Penelope Cruz doesn't add anything new into the new love interest role. And yeah, the forced cameos of all these now trendy fashion people were pretty forced. You think you can get Justin Bieber to make a selfie joke and make him seem kind of like he's self-deprecating and not make me want to punch his face? Independence Day Resurgence. Yeah, I'm not gonna pretend like the first Independence Day was some kind of cinematic genius stroke. Heck, I enjoy the Devlin and Emmerich movies from the mid-90s. Stargate and Independence Day are what I consider to be kind of guilty pleasures. I can appreciate their ambition and drive and spectacle, but deep down I know they're dumb. Independence Day Resurgence through and through is just dumb. Again, along the lines of Zoolander 2, it's characters that you grew to appreciate in the first movie. They might not be the most overly complex characters or overly developed characters, but you liked them and the actors portraying them had enough charisma. But when you put them into this new sequel, man, does nobody really work. Add to that the new blood characters who just are falling flat, and why the hell are we trying to make Liam Hemsworth a thing? I'm pretty sure only 2 of the 3 brothers in this whole family of Hemsworths are actually talented, and it ain't Liam. But yeah, what else is there in that movie? You don't have any connection to the destruction that happens in it at all. At least there was good build-up, and you got a sense of loss that occurred in the movie when the aliens attacked the first time around. In Resurgence, yeah, a giant ship fucks up Earth's gravity and, you know, most of Asia and Europe are lost, but do you really give a crap? No. But thank God they sequel baited it to see even more insanity, I guess. I will admit maybe the giant alien queen at the end was interesting. It's too bad all she was reduced to was chasing a school bus. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Christ. I don't know what else to say about this movie. I've done a full-length vlog on it. I've done a full-length chat cave on it with Max Andrews. I've come back and revisited it many a time on the Three Geeks podcast. But man, I don't know if I'm more angry at this movie or disappointed, because Suicide Squad, it's a train wreck. It's a monumental train wreck, but there's at least entertaining stuff happening, and at least people look like they're enjoying being these characters. I just want a movie where at least the characters, aside from Ben Affleck's Batman, aren't brooding loners. Again, Affleck and Godot as Batman and Wonder Woman kind of salvaged a little bit of this experience, but a meandering plot with very little focus, lots of side characters who could have easily been written out of the story, and the most dour and emo Superman we've had ever just doesn't do it for me. I'm sorry. You don't have to be exactly like Marvel DC, but have a little sense of self-awareness to be able to have a little bit of humor injected in. And I don't mean kooky, out there, whatever, Lex Luthor type of humor, which only the highest intellectual people will understand, apparently, because these movies are mega ultra deep, I've heard. So yeah, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Wonder Woman, save me please. The Do-Over. As I mentioned in my vlog before, Adam Sandler and David Spade in the first 15 or 20 minutes. At least they look like they're just having fun joking around with each other on camera, and then it becomes your typical, hey, let's just pay ourselves for a vacation. And we're spies. And women find us uber attractive for some reason. He's got 2 more movies in his Netflix deal. Yoga hosers. God damn it, Kevin Smith. Quit winning me back with your lovable podcasts. I gave Tusk leeway. But I can't wait for him to be done with Canada and to be done with this True North trilogy. It really has nothing to do so much with the actors in the movie because his kid does a good job, Johnny Depp's kid does a good job with what they're given, and I can see them doing good things in other projects. But man, oh man, stereotypical Canadian humor, and again, a meandering plot that thinks it's talking to the teenage girl of today, but it really isn't because it's written by a 45-year-old. If the movie had actually focused on its Nazi bratwurst plot, I might have been interested. Kudos to the MVP Ralph Garman for his wacky and dated impressions, but at least I feel that was the intent, was for them to be wacky and outdated on purpose. Everything else in the movie kind of feels like some weird accident that Kevin Smith, for some reason, is happily owning. I understand wanting to take pride in your work, especially if it's a project you've worked on with your family, but sorry, Kevin, it's just a dud. Still love Smodcast, Hollywood Babylon, and Fat Man on Batman, though. Keep up the great work, dude. Max fucking Steel. This was a mess. I never played with any of the Max Steel action figures when I was a kid. I didn't even know that this was really a product line until about the time the first trailer for this movie showed up, but apparently it's based on Mattel toys and there was a show or two. Never saw any of the shows, never played with any of the toys, but if the shows and the toys are anything like this movie, I pity the kids who ever had to play with them or watch them. Imagine, if you will, a Spider-Man origin movie. Yeah, another one of these. Except imagine if instead of the spider dying after biting Peter Parker, it hung around and tagged along like a sidekick and had the voice of Big Head from Silicon Valley and was annoying as shit. That is Max Steel to a T. And how the hell did Maria Bello and Andy Garcia think this was a good choice for a movie? The lead guy is every YA teen drama heartthrob character you could imagine rolled into one. He has more chemistry with Bella, who's playing his mom, than he does with the girl who's playing his girlfriend for 5 minutes. The editing is a nightmare. The visuals are so bleak and dark, I can't tell what's going on half the time. I think at one point he was fighting the Galactus Cloud from Silver Surfer, and yeah, Steel the robot is an annoying little shit. This is the primest example of a cynical cash grab based off of a brand name. And it's not even a very recognizable brand name. No one cares about telling a decent story in this movie. No one cares about producing anything actually entertaining. It's all just to sink their meat hooks into anyone's nostalgia who might actually remember what this show or these toys are about. I definitely feel so much poorer for having seen Max Steel all the way through. Alright, here we go. My worst movie experience of 2016 happened to be a Netflix movie. So, off we are with Hot Bot. There is this movie called Hot Bot on Netflix, I believe, right now, that stars some goofy-looking skinny kid, Aaron from the Key and Peele Substitute Teacher sketch, and a model playing a sex bot who suddenly develops more of a personality and more humanity and wants to be independent from her primary function of being said sex bot. It's kind of like Weird Science if you really wanted to hate weird science. Add to that a supporting cast of players from TV who really would want to be anywhere else. And this movie is kind of an infuriating mess. You've got scenes of Anthony Anderson and Hyde from That 70s Show as Secret Service dudes driving around in a van looking for the hot bot, not giving a shit about any of the dialogue they're saying, and you can see in their eyes they're waiting for the cut so they can just break and have a cigarette. You see Larry Miller, who is honestly trying a little too hard for this type of movie, playing this scuzzy senator and walking around bare-ass naked at one point and making out with one of the teenage boys for reasons I can't remember exactly why, but it's fucked up. You have Angela from The Office and Donald Faison from Scrubs as one of the kids' mother and stepfather, not giving a crap that he's hanging around with this completely zombie response-like android woman who's saying stuff about wanting to jump their son or something like that. This movie is awful. It is stupid. It is thoroughly through and through not funny, and it's trying so hard to make you believe that it is. And I can't really remember what was this movie supposed to be about. Was this supposed to be kind of like just a fun teen sex romp along the lines of something like American Pie or even a couple of John Hughes movies from the 80s, like Weird Science? Was this supposed to have some kind of character journey? Am I supposed to like these main characters, these two friends who treat each other like shit? Especially A.A. Ron. I know he has a real name, but he's always going to be A.A. Ron for me. He is just the worst. Like, imagine if Jonah Hill's character from Superbad was just 10 times more of an asshole than he was in that movie. That's this character, and he is ungodly irritating. And of course, hijinks ensue, because why wouldn't hijinks ensue? Everyone's on the chase for this hotbot. The actress doesn't really look like she gives much of a shit. She's probably not even an actress, I can't remember. But yeah, I searched this thing out on Netflix because I needed to find something bad for my list. And lo and behold, something god-awful reared its head. I feel so much better about that now. So honestly, yeah, I purposely avoided some of the worst stuff that was released at theaters, like Collateral Beauty or things like of that nature. I'll probably get around to seeing them eventually, but for 2016, it was a Netflix movie that did me in. Fucking Hotbot. Well, there are my worst movies for the year of 2016. What are some of your worst movies that you witnessed? Let me know in the comments below. At least they weren't Hotbot.